finish up your project, what you're going to do is you're going to take each of your 3 words on their own individual canvases, and you're going to add a picture to the background, and you're also going to add a colorful textured overlay on top of each word using a clipping mask to make it look more interesting, visually, just kind of have like its own kind of artistic sort of bent to it. So here you'll see I have my word is tasty. And on the background, I've got a bowl. You can see here in the layer, the bowl is the layer underneath the word. And then on top of the layer, you will see a filled kind of decorated design. Make sure you turn off your guidelines. If you have them on a separate layer, you should just hit the checkbox, turn them off. And so once you have it like this, you can see it's got this little arrow next to the layer that means that it is on a clipping mask, which means it will only display over the layer that is directly below it, and it won't display on anything else. That's useful for changing the color of just our words and not the picture completely underneath of that. So this clipping mask option, if you were to tap on the layer, it'll bring up a menu. And from that menu, you can select clipping mask, and you'll see it's got a check mark next to it because it was enabled. So I clicked it again and disabled it. And now you can see that the full layer is filled up completely with my texture, but whenever I turn the clipping mask on, it goes on top of. So let's make another layer so I can show you how I created this effect. So on your new layer, you're going to grab your color that you want and a paintbrush, preferably a large one to fill up a lot of space. I use Rectango in the textures category because it's very large. It's got a cool texture. I really, really like it. You don't have to use that one. You can use whatever one you want. And then you're just going to start kind of blotting in color all over, and it will completely cover up everything, and that's fine. That's what you want it to do. Choose whatever colors you want. The more there is of a color, probably the more likely it is that that will be a dominant color, but that's not necessarily the case because we are going to change it up a little bit. Once you get the colors on here that you're happy with, and as much of it as you want, you're going to go up to the top to the magic wand tool, and you're going to click liquefy down at the bottom. Once you're in the liquefy menu, there's a lot of different dials down at the bottom that you can mess around with. Mine aren't the default settings because I've already played with mine a little bit, so just play with it and find what you want. Push, and with momentum turned up, is what I'm using right now, and pushing the colors around, and you'll see it kind of flows after I finish pushing it, like it's kind of watery. That's because of the momentum effect. So you can push things around. If you tap with 2 fingers, it'll undo. If you tap with 3 fingers, it will redo. Twirl right. If you just press down with your Apple Pencil, it will twirl. And I like this because it kind of makes like a marbled effect. And if I use twirl left, I can kind of reinforce that effect a little bit, just kind of smishing things around as I go. There's also a pinch, which will draw everything towards wherever you tap. So it's just pinching it towards that section. There's also the expand one, where if you push that one down, it'll push everything out, make that section larger. So say you wanted more of the blue or more of the red, that would be a way to do that. There's also the crystal effects and the edge effects. You can use those to just get all kinds of different effects. And I want you to just play around and get until you get something that you are completely happy with. You can do this several times. It doesn't take a long time to do, so feel free to go through several different iterations. Once you're done, tap on the layer and click clipping mask, and it will tap down to your picture below. If you're not happy with how it's lining up, you can grab your liquefy tool again, and you can keep messing with it as much as you want. So you can see I'm just using the twirl tool a little bit here to get something a little bit different. And all of the stuff is still on the layer. Like if I were to make this non-clipped, you would still see everything on the layer. The difference is that now we're only seeing where the word part is, and that is actually the final product. So it's probably the part we want to make sure is good. So just play around with that until you are happy with it. To finalize this project, you need to turn in 2 different versions of each word. You're going to turn in a version like this, where the texture is visible and the picture layer. And then you're going to turn in a version where the picture layer is hidden. So just tap the check mark and export it again with just the plain background. If your word is, or your colors are very light that you chose to use, maybe because your background picture is quite dark, it's okay if you change the background color. That's fine, to something to make it more easy to see. So like if I was using this orange one, maybe I feel like that's too light on the light background, so I could make my background maybe a gray or something along those lines to make it pop out a little bit more. The main goal, though, is to keep in mind that all three of your words are going to be displayed together side by side as a group, so they should all go together. So try to pick pictures that go together, maybe color scheme wise, maybe thematically, and as well as the colors you use for your words, make sure that they kind of fit together. So don't use completely wildly different colors on each one. When you're done, so you should have 6 total pictures you're submitting.